a 2011 Hyundai Genesis Coupe with a 3.8 liter V6 in the r-spec trim level. The Genesis Coupe is Hyundai's take against the Ford Mustang, the Nissan 350, 370Z, and the Scion FRS. It is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car that can be either made into a boring slush box or a 6-speed manual transmission. What we have today is the 3.8 liter V6. You could get these with a 2 liter turbo, but we have the V6 today. Longtime viewers, I've done a car review on this exact car before, but my video quality's gotten so much better, I'd like to re-review it again and give some more major points. Also, this is going to be considered a long-term review because as of right now, my girlfriend bought this car at 38,000 miles, and I was with her when she bought it, and I've been through everything she's been through with this car, and the car is currently sitting at 92,000 miles. So I feel it's adequate enough to give you guys a long-term representation of what you can expect with this car. So the Lambda 3.8 liter V6 in this Hyundai makes 306 horsepower at the crank and is extremely torquey. Unfortunately, it suffers from a short red line of 6,500 RPM. I would like a little more red line, but it has gobs of torque throughout the whole power band. A benefit to this engine is you can actually run 87 octane in this. I'm curious to see how much power could be pulled out if we did a map on it that was limited to only 91. But kind of cool to consider when you're considering the cost of ownership that you can safely run 87 octane in this car. Unfortunately, even for a normally aspirated V6, the linearity and the throttle response of the engine is very iffy, is the best way I can put it. From what I understand, an ECU tune fixes it, but it has to do with the calibration and software for the electronic throttle body, making it kind of inconsistent at times, and doesn't give you that response, that instant response you want. The engine makes glorious sounds though. This now has an ISR catback, the race one or whatever they call it. It essentially is a single, it's a Y-pipe to 3-inch single with a resonator, back out to dual tips at the rear, so it splits back one more time. The best part of this exhaust note though is the crackly pops you get from deceleration. And this car does it so easily. This car doesn't have a tune or anything. All you gotta do, get up to about 4,000 RPM, let off a little bit, maybe blip the throttle, and you just get popping coming out of the back. It is so fun. The car with a V6 weighs in between 3,389 pounds to about 3,600 pounds depending on trim level. Base model is 3,389 with the V6. It's lighter for the 2 liter turbo. This trim level is the R-spec. The R-spec is the more hardcore version of it. So there is also the Ultimate and the Track. The Ultimate had sunroof, leather heated seats, touchscreen navigation, cruise control, all the bells and whistles. Track had some of those, and the R-spec, all it was given over the base were the Brembo brakes, stiffer suspension, the Torsen limited slip differential, and it didn't have a sunroof, it didn't have cruise control. This is the I'm serious about driving my car. Since it doesn't have a sunroof, it's also more rigid than all the other models. The seats in the R-spec are also a half cloth, half leather. Cloth where your butt and back rests, so that way it holds you in better, but it still has leather on the side, so it looks really cool, and it has all this red trim. It's red cloth, there's red leather trim in here. It really does give a sporty feel to it. The Torsen diff that it comes with is great as well. Torsen diffs aren't that great for drifting. Yes, you can still slide and drift the car, but it's not the preferred method. But in a tight corner, on the track in a corner, powering out of a corner on corner exit is such an exhilarating event because you can feel exactly what the rear end is doing and its correlation to your right foot. That says it has a good differential to me. A lot of cars with a good limited slip, you'll be able to tell what the car is doing, and it makes it more exhilarating to power out of a corner, and you can feel the car catapult its way out. Now, for having a great differential, a fat power band, the car does have some drawbacks. Unfortunately, this uses McPherson struts in the front. Luckily, there's absolutely like no bump steer, very minimal bump steer. So the suspension geometry for McPherson strut in the front is great. What this car is plagued with handling-wise is because of that McPherson strut, you're limited on how much tire you can run in the front. Right now, we have a 9-inch wide wheel in the front with a 255 wide tire, and that's the most we can get out of it without rubbing on the strut and without pulling the fenders. The rear has a 10-inch wide with a 275 on it, and as of right now, this car does have some federal RSRRs, and this is going to be the one shameless plug of the video. Use the coupon code down below, get yourself a deal on some federal RSRRs, and you can make your car sticky icky like this. Anyway, shameless plug is over. Back to the car. So, being limited on all that tire, and this is a front heavy car, front engine cars like this that are also kind of heavier really benefit from having a square setup and really benefit from being able to utilize more tire in the front of the vehicle. So not being able to run much tire in the front from a modification standpoint is really a drawback in the handling, unfortunately. The rear uses an inboard spring with a damper and multi-link suspension in the rear. So there's a lot of great camber gain in the rear. So the rear suspension is really dialed and it hunkers the car down. Maybe that is why it feels like the car powering out of corners, it feels like a catapult coming out of a corner, being shot out of one. The car does have back seats and a lot of cargo room actually. You can fit a full set of tires in here and your tools for when you want to go to the track and change out at the track. The rear seats aren't useless actually. I can actually sit in them. For a bigger guy like me, I do have to kind of lean back so my head isn't up against the roof. But if you have children, for say, or smaller people who ride on the back, they'll actually be comfortable back there. That's impressive. I think that's kind of impressive, how you can have all of this in a car and still be able to put people in the back. One thing this car is plagued with is actually an overheating power steering system. Even at autocross, the power steering system will overheat. There is no power steering cooler. So as of right now, we've installed one. We probably did it for about 50 bucks. So it's not a very expensive modification to do it all. So let's talk about the long term of this car. What has been done to it? What has needed to been overcome? I just mentioned the power steering. Really, all this car has been all oil changes. That's about it. Just kept up on oil changes, fluid changes, you know, your transmission and your diff. And that's it. The only major service this car has needed was, we did the spark plugs, and that's easy. You do have to remove the intake manifold, but I mean, 2 out of 5 difficulty. It's extremely easy. The slave cylinder in this car is an internal slave cylinder. The 350Z guys watching this, same thing as the HR. And what happens to them, they leak, they soak the clutch in fluid, your clutch is deemed bad, you need a new slave cylinder, and to do that you have to pull the transmission, which to us 350Z guys and other car owners that have the same thing, that's scary. We don't want to deal with that. It didn't go bad until 60,000 miles in this car. We did change the clutch as well. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get a shop to machine this dual mass due to this design. So if you do plan on, if you find one that needs a clutch, or if you're planning on owning one for the long haul, when clutch time comes, plan on changing the flywheel as well. Aftermarket ones are a lot cheaper than an OEM dual mass. The slave cylinder, I think it was $100 from Hyundai. It wasn't too badly priced at all, 100 to 200 bucks. And pulling the transmission, this is probably one of the easiest rear-wheel drive cars to pull a transmission on of the modern age. All data claims 4-hour job. I think we did it in 2.5, if I remember right. It is extremely easy. Everything's straightforward, right in front of you. Nothing's hard to get to. It's a literal, wrenches, ratchets, regular tools, and you can pull the transmission in this vehicle. It's ridiculously easy. And other than that, that's all we've had to do up to almost 100,000 miles, and this car's been pretty problem-free. So, with all of that given to you, how much you get out of the car, how easy it is to maintain, how reliable it is, why didn't these sell more? Why don't they sell more of these? Now, this car brand new, not this very car, but the base version of this car was $23,500. And I had a hard time finding MSRPs online for some reason, but I got the gist of it, that the low end was 23.5 and the high trim level, the V6, the Ultimate, was $33,000. So let's think, let's go all the way back to base. Let's do $23,000. And I was not aware if this was a V6 or a turbo, but even the 2-liter turbo has 210 horsepower. You get a lot of car for that amount. And I wonder why Hyundai didn't sell more of these. They did okay, but the Genesis Coupe is gone now off the market. And you get a lot with this car. One of its competitors, when the FRS came out, we had Generation 2 of this car. And Generation 2 offered even more horsepower, had 350 in the V6, and had 280 out of the 2-liter turbo. And it was still boasting these price ranges, brand new. And Hyundai's great warranty. So it's really weird. Why didn't this car sell more? And I think the only reason is going to be the downfall of the Kia Stinger also, is just the badge on it. Because no one wants to say they spent $28,000 on the highest trim level Hyundai. And Hyundai is working on it. They're producing good cars, awesome cars. They're really giving the big automakers a run for their money. They're becoming one of the big automakers. And it's unfortunate that that stigma of the Hyundai badge was bad, because it's no longer a threat anymore. It's nothing to worry about having a Hyundai. Having a Hyundai is a good thing now. When people ask me, what can I get as a good, reliable car I don't have to worry about? My answer was always Toyota or Honda, but now it's Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai. As of now, these have depreciated really hard. You can find a lot of these, especially the BK1. BK1 is Generation 1, BK2 is Generation 2. You can find a lot of these BK1s within the $10,000 range and even below sometimes. And it's crazy. So as of right now, if that's your budget and you're looking for a rear-wheel drive daily driver, this car here, look into this car. Consider what you're going to do. If you're going to track more than anything, maybe 350Z, 370Z. If you want something more fun, I guess would be a better word, and more dailyable and more reasonable for your daily commute, this car right here beats the 350Z and the 370Z. And I own a 350Z. I've owned one for a few years now. I'm saying that with complete and utter confidence that this is the better daily driver. But it's still a fun rear-wheel drive car. You can still drift it if you wanted to go drift events. You can still track it. You can still autocross it. My girlfriend religiously autocrosses this car, and you don't see many of them do it, actually. These cars do great, but unfortunately, for some reason, they don't come out as much as they should. I've driven this car at an autocross. I honestly, even though my car's been faster, I had more fun driving this car at an autocross for an instructional than I have had with my car. I partially think it's that torsion diff. Don't know why, but I think that's my favorite trait of this car other than the sound. And it's extremely engaging for a larger car like this. Sure, it doesn't offer the most grip out of the front or the highest limits for the price range, but it makes for an extremely fun car to drive. Moral of the story, guys, don't let Han from Tokyo Drift get you down. Hyundais are a good car. I'll let you roll in them. Anyway, if that last bad joke wasn't enough to deter you, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, leave a like. If you like car reviews, autocross videos, DIYs, or just Z videos in general, please make sure to subscribe. And thank you for watching, guys.